your Malaysian business advisor. For those of you who were here in my last session, welcome back. For those of you who are here for the first time, welcome. Today, we'll be going through something that's very dear to Malaysia, e-invoicing. It's been around our ears for quite some time now. So what is it? So we'll go through what e-invoicing actually is. And also, we have a very special guest today, besides myself, which is our own product owner, Kim Do-hyun, who will be joining us in the later stages of the session later to answer some of your questions that you might have, be it for Odoo or maybe also for e-invoicing. All right. So allow me to introduce myself again. For those of you who are here for the first time, my name is Wan Hakim. I'm a business advisor for Odoo Asia Pacific. So we're located in Hong Kong. Our Asia Pacific headquarters covering about 12, 15 maybe different markets, including Malaysia. Okay. So the agenda for today is very simple. We'll introduce to you what is Odoo for those of you who are not familiar. Maybe this is your first time hearing it, and then we'll go over into companies actually needing invoicing, what e-invoicing actually is, and then we'll introduce you to how e-invoicing works in Odoo itself in the system, and how in split second, boom, it's already reflected in my invoice LHDN portal, right? And afterwards, we'll run through a little bit on the demo and some Q&As that you might have with our product owner Kim Do-hyun, who will be joining us later. Okay, so for those of you who have not heard of Odoo before, what is Odoo? Odoo is a Belgium company that started in 2004, so about 2 decades ago. It started with our founder and still the same CEO today, Mr. Fabian Pinkers, who initially set up Odoo as a tool, as a system to help his parents' farming company in Belgium back then. But now, 21 years later, we're not only serving farmers, we're also serving small, medium enterprises, multinational companies, and even government institution in some parts of the EU. Being from Belgium, of course, our footprint started in European Union. And this is the platform of how it looks like. All-in-one business management software means that everything that you want to use ideally should be in one platform. And as you can see here, all the apps that you want to use to power up your company, such as sales, CRM, invoicing, accounting, inventory management, all of them are in one place. So what does this do? This means that you don't have to switch between one software to another, back and forth going between software A to software B, right? Everything is just in one place. All you have to do is just click in and out. Simple as that. All right, so globally, we have more than 19 offices worldwide already. And the purpose of me showing this is not to flex on our 19 offices, of course, but rather if you look closely, based on the locations and proximity of each HQ, what do you notice? Is that there's roughly a 1 or 2 hour time zone difference between each headquarters. And why do we do this? So Hong Kong and Malaysia, as we all know, of course, exist within the same time zone. But what if, let's say, you need some support or someone to talk to at 12 midnight, right? Ideally, I wouldn't be working, and even if I was awake, probably I wouldn't be in working capacity. But fear not, look to the left. We have offices in Berlin, in Dubai, in Milan, in Valencia, even in San Francisco. And what does that mean? They are in a different time zone that is still within working hours. So of course, if you need someone to talk to from Odoo, our colleagues all over the world across our 19 offices is able to support you. Okay, and 12 million users worldwide. What does that mean? Is that at any given time, maybe it's now, maybe it's an hour from now, you have plus minus 12 million people who will log into the system in Odoo at any given time. Okay, some good news to share with you. As of November 2024 last year, we've secured some pretty big injections of investments from the three of the biggest names, I would say, according to me, of course. You don't quote me on this. Capital G, the owner and the venture capital of Google, Alphabet Inc., Sequoia Capital, one of the biggest venture capitals in the world, as well as BlackRock, right, being the company with the most assets under management in the world today. So they see some potential in us. They see some good news that, hey, you know what? Let's pump this money into Odoo right now. So this should give you a sense of confidence, a sense of boost as well, that Odoo is not just here to stay, but also growing rapidly, capturing the biggest attention of the biggest venture capitals in the world. And that was our CEO, Mr. Fabian. Okay, so of course, today's session is centered around Malaysia. I am Malaysian myself. I grew up in Malaysia. I worked in Malaysia for about a good 4 or 5 years. So I know a little bit of what I'm talking about as well. But let's just say some of the clienteles that we have here are probably someone you've also interacted with before. For example, me personally, I love ice cream, right? and I eat all kinds of ice cream, but probably you've ordered your ice cream at Baskin Robbins. Guess what? All 105 Baskin Robbins outlets is utilizing Odoo to manage their POS, retail store, and also some parts of their inventory, right? And like just like you, maybe you drive. I also pump my petrol at Petronas, right? And if you pump your petrol at Petronas, you probably want some cashbacks or rewards. You've probably used Settle before, who is also part of the Odoo family. And maybe if you're in the trading industry, you might have import or export some of your products or inquiring something from abroad using Chinhin Logistics, who is also, again, one of our Odoo family. But again, my purpose of showing you this page here is to show that Odoo is not industry specific. If you have any specific requirements, you have whatever need, please come to us, let us know, we analyze it together, we'll collaborate together, and we'll make sure that you have a system for your entire company to use as well. Just like that. Okay, so I've been talking a lot about how these companies are using Odoo. So how can Odoo realistically help your business, right? What is the actual way to do it, and how do we do it, and what does actually happen, right, when you use a system like Odoo? So I'll borrow from my experience in the past when I was working for a pretty big GLC company back then in Malaysia as well, right? So we used about 5, 6, maybe 7 different different softwares, right? To manage our project, we use one specific thing. To manage our finances and sales, we use another specific thing. And then to manage our operations, mobile network, and things like that, we use another separate thing, right? And they're great. They're really good at what they do. No problem with that. But the problem starts here. So as a lowly employee in the company, someone who just recently joined, I do not have full access or visibility towards every system that is there, right? So what I need to do is I will need to write an email maybe at 2 o'clock on a Monday to a PIC from that project or that system, saying, hey, please allow me access, or please provide the documents and files for A, B, C, D, E, E, F, G, H, Y, and Z, right? And if they reply within, say, 1 or 2 hours, fantastic, great. I can carry on my job. I can have it done by the end of the day. But what if they reply the next day? What if they reply 2 days later, right? That means I'm stuck working on something that I can't work on. Actually, I'm in no man's land, right? And if my boss asks me for an update, I do not have one. Simply because system A and system B do not talk to each other. They are not integrated. So this what happens is that you spend a lot of time doing double data entry, meaning that from system A you have to double data entry in system B. And another thing is that doing this takes up a lot of administrative time, doing administrative work that does not really contribute to productivity, right? So I used to spend maybe about a good 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day just refurbishing data that I've inputted in system A, alerting people from system B to know as well, right? That's 30 minutes of my day, 1 day. 1 week, that's about 2 hours and a half. 1 month, that's about 10 hours. 1 year, that's about 500 plus minus hours, right? So 500 hours is spent doing nothing really, right? So we solve all of that with our all-in-one solution. So whatever happens in sales, for example, let's say I want today have sold a project, right? Directly, the project team will know that, hey, there's been a new portal that's been created. Why? Because one solo project. So now the project team will know that, hey, we need to recruit the right people for it. We need to set the proper timeline. We need to set the key milestones, and we need to do the budgeting as part of this project. And then the inventory team will know that, hey, item A, B, C should be reserved because one has sold this particular item to that client, right? So immediately, inventory team will know that these are the things that are untouchable because one sold something in sales, right? And accounting wise, this is the best part. So I started my career in finance, right? And I did a lot of financing work. But now with Odoo accounting, whatever one sells in sales is immediately recorded in accounting. So let's say if I sold a project today worth 1 million ringgit, in accounting, there will be a journal entry of 1 million ringgit as well in debit credit, so that all your accountants have to do at the end of the day is just to reconcile and do bank reconciliation. Very simple. So point is, whatever one does in sales, 4 or 5 other departments also get real life data reflected immediately, and they'll know what's going on. No more double data entry, no more time spent on administrative works. Okay, so positioning wise, we are currently the fourth biggest ERP company in the world. So as of course, why do you ask why fourth? Why not third? Why not second? Why not first? So you look over to the left, you'll see some of very familiar names here. So if you have used some of these systems before, you probably know that SAP, Oracle, Microsoft Dynamics started about 55 years ago, some 57 years ago, almost 60 years, right? Whereas Odoo, like I mentioned earlier, has only been around since 2004. That's only 2 decades old, right? So for someone who's only been around one third of the time, we're currently the fourth biggest one. That's not too shabby, right? But that's not the point. My point here is that we cover the same business complex, business flows of what SAP, Oracle, and Microsoft also does. But we have our own methodology and our own advantages in terms of user friendliness. So what I mean by this is, if you have used some standalone softwares before, which most Malaysians do, right? Most Malaysians, from my experience handling Malaysian clients, they probably already have an accounting system. They probably have a sales system, right? And most of the time they keep everything in Excel, which you might be guilty of as well, right? So what Odoo does is that Odoo takes away all these familiar aspects of HubSpot, Shopify, QuickBooks, and Trello, and we have it in our system. So when you use Odoo for the first time, you don't feel like you're using something that is very alien, very completely new to you that you have to relearn again from A to Z. Whereas when you use Odoo for the first time, it feels like, hey, I find this very familiar. I might have used this before. Where is it from? You know, that's what Odoo does. Okay, so speaking of which, we currently offer more than 60 modules in Odoo version 18. So that's in a way it shows our age, but realistically we've been around for 21 years. Okay, so all the apps that you might need to power up your business is available in this very page. So with any business, right? Doesn't matter if you're in trading, if you are in oil and gas, if you are in manufacturing or consulting business, right? Service delivery businesses, you will always have a sales department. You will always have an operations department. You will always have a finance team, right? To make sure the numbers are right, to make sure that, hey, this is our forecast, this is what we're going to do for the next few months, whether we're going to stay afloat, whether we're collecting enough paychecks from our clients, all of that, right? So we design the system to have all the things that you need in just one platform. Okay, so what are the current challenges faced by a lot of SME or even bigger companies, such as mine previously when I worked in Malaysia, right? A lot of the time, when you have a lot of standalone systems, systems just do not reflect each other's data. So what I mean by this is, if you have a separate accounting system and then you use Excel to track your inventory, and maybe you have one CRM or marketing tools, whatever happens here does not reflect in this other two. So again, you need to do double data entry for this, which takes up a lot of your time. You spend a lot of time doing just data entry. Sometimes there's errors as well. And when there's errors happening, again, it takes a longer time to backlog everything again, right? And we'll try to eliminate manual processes and data storing because, believe it or not, when I picked up the call about 2 months ago, someone told me that, hey, Juan, you know what? We've been around in the business for about 20 years, but yet all our documents are stored on paper. So what does that mean? If you've been around for 20 years and you keep everything in paper, guess what? If you need to look for a transaction that you made maybe 5 years ago, you might not even find it, right? Or you can spend hours and hours on end just finding that simple document. But that's assuming it's there. What if you lost it? What if it's been eaten by ants or anak-anak? Or what if it got wet and rot, right? So again, with a cloud-based system like Odoo, you can store your files in our cloud storage. So again, as long as you have the product code, the reference, serial number, or even the product name or the client, you can always find the transaction again, right? And number four, I think, is a bit underrated as well, because a lot of the times when you use multiple softwares, that means you are paying for multiple vendors as well. And over the course of time, it adds up, right? Whereas in Odoo, we keep everything in just one price point. So you pay for one thing, you get everything. That's our pricing mechanism. And lastly, on the localization. So again, with e-invoicing looming, I know that a lot of companies are looking to have this e-invoicing as well. And most of the time, companies who are not local will charge you additional fees to localize, right? So this means that you even pay more for specific functions that Odoo already has. right? And now we'll get into e-invoicing. So what actually e-invoicing actually is, right? And e-invoicing is essentially a digital filing required or mandated by the Malaysian government so that each transaction, be it from sales or from procurement, is directly stored in LHDN's portal. So whatever transaction you do in the system is directly linked, and the government will know basically all the transactions lah. Okay, and based on the timeline that they've been that's been given, so there's about three different groups of taxpayers with three different implementation date. So as you can see here, of course, today is the 15th of January. So I think the first group is already started, and they probably won't be so keen on this. But taxpayers with an annual revenue or revenue of more than 100 million, they've already started last August. Whereas as of January 1st, companies with revenue between 25 to 100 million will start to have it now, will be compulsory, right? And eventually by the 1st of July, everyone who does businesses will be requiring to have e-invoicing, right? Will be mandated to join and register their business in LHDN's portal. Okay, so now we've come to the demo session. So I'm about to show you how easy it is to actually set up an account in Odoo. Okay, so when you go onto the browser, when you click Odoo or odoo.com, this is what you'll get, our homepage. And how do you actually set up an account in Odoo? It's very simple. So you see this try it free button here. All you have to do is click on it, and it will take you to the database creation. So in the database creation, of course, you have a bunch of modules and apps that you might want to use. So for today, let's try to go with CRM, sales, invoicing, and maybe some document signing, right? Maybe you send out a lot of documents and you don't want to do to use paper anymore. You want to activate document signing. And let's do accounting as well due to invoicing. All right. So as you can see here, we don't take any of your credit card information. You can just key in your name. So let's just put Hakim here, my email, company name. Yeah, let's do one shop. Yeah, why not? Country, I'm going to choose Malaysia. Company size, less than 5. And primary interest, I'm going to use it for my own company. Okay, so I'm going to click start now. And the system will now generate the database with all the apps that you've chosen before to kickstart your database, right? It will take maybe about a minute or two for it to load all the necessary functions, all the necessary apps that you want to use. And after that, you can start using it already. So let's just give it maybe a minute while the system loads. Oh, okay, less than a minute. All right, so this is what you see when you have successfully activated or registered for a database. But of course, an activation email will be sent to your email account. So all you have to do is click on the link given to your email so that you activate this database. It will then be valid for 15 days. And feel free after that to explore more about Odoo. So you might have only downloaded a few of these apps, but if you want to test more, go to the App Store, click on it, and there we go. All the apps that you want to use, sorted out by categories. Okay, so now let's actually run through a scenario of how e-invoicing in Odoo works, right? With I mentioned before, within a few clicks, it's already reflected in LHDN's portal. Is that true? Let's find out. Okay, so for today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through a very quick CRM, sales, and accounting modules to show you how within 5 minutes you can pretty much sort out your entire e-invoicing filing. Okay, so for those of you who are familiar or who might have used CRM before, you're probably very familiar with this view. This is Kanban view. So remember back then, about 20, maybe 15 years ago, we used to do sticky notes to mark what do we have to do for the day or what do we have to do for the week. Kanban view replicates exactly that, right? And you can see here, there's a few things going on here, but let's start with the traffic light color bars here. So we have red, orange, and green. And what do they mean? So for red, it means that you actually have activities overdue. So you might have scheduled an activity yesterday, a week ago, but maybe you were just too busy or you got sick. So you weren't able to attend to these activities that you have set in the system, right? So they will always be there to remind you that, hey, this should probably be your priority at the moment because they were meant to be done last week or yesterday, but you didn't. So let's say I want to know, what are the activities I am late for, right? All I have to do is click on the red bar and Odoo will sort out all the opportunities based on the color that you choose. Orange means you have activities due for today, so you might have scheduled it yesterday for today, and now I want to know what do I have to do for today, right? All I have to do is click on the orange bar, and everything that I have to do for today is sorted out as well. And for green, it means that I have activities planned for the future. So as sales, you might want to know when your how's your pipeline looking, whether you have a lot of opportunities heading into the future. So what's your business going to look like for the next coming weeks or months? This is how you do it. This is how you sort it out. Okay, so for today, let's go into Mr. Lee, because I feel like doing business with Mr. Lee today, right? He's already a qualified customer. I've talked to him enough. I know what he wants. He's just, still browsing around, but maybe he can finally seal the deal. All right. So all information of activities I've done with Mr. Lee so far will be recorded in the system, right? So in the future, if I ever want to know what's going on with this particular customer, I already have a story, to go with that. Hey, this is what happens in May, June, July, whatever it is. I've had a call with them. I've had a meeting with them. How did it go? Everything will be recorded here. And for you to record future activities, all you have to do is just click activities, choose the activity type, maybe call or email, right? Choose the date, and there we go. Click schedule, and now it'll be part of your schedule as well. Okay. So let's say Mr. Lee has finally given me a call. Say, hey Juan, you know what? I think everything checks out. Can you send us the official quotation so our finance team can also process this? That's great. So directly from our CRM tool, you can also create quotations directly to the customer, right? So let's say Mr. Lee here wants to buy one almari and also Krusi, just an example. So we can see here that the SST tax is already reflected as well. So the untaxed amount is 11K with the SST of 1.1K, bringing the total to 12.1. All right. So maybe you also want to do some payment terms with Mr. Lee. Maybe it's immediate. Maybe it's 30 days. Maybe it's end of following month. So let's go with 30 days, right? Just to give him some breathing room to collect his money to make the payment. All right. So now this is a quotation. How do we convert it into becoming an actual sales order, right? So I'm going to click confirm, and there we go. The system will also notify that, hey, quotation is now a sales order, the status, right? And right now, I want to send Mr. Lee the invoice so he can make the payment. He can transact the payment to me, right? All I have to do is click invoice. We have a few invoicing options here, either regular invoice, which is a full payment, or you can do down payment of a certain percentage, maybe 50% upfront, just to safeguard yourself as well. Or maybe a down payment of a fixed amount. Again, we provide you as many flexibility to help with your business. So we're going to create draft for the regular invoice first. And let's see if everything checks out. Okay, there we go. When I mentioned earlier that sales and accounting is linked, this is what I mean. So immediately after processing the sales order, directly a journal is created in this chart of accounts, 4100. So you know that where the items are going. So when it comes to the accounting part, you will know that, hey, there's been a credit of 10,000 and 1,000 under trade income, under credit, and also 1,100 under the tax account, and also account receivable will be debited 12,100. So accounting wise, debit and credit will show the same amount of 12,100, or in accounting, it's 00. Okay, so now all I have to do is just confirm from this invoice, from a draft becoming an actual invoice. And now, once I click print and send, there we go. Do you see this button called send to my invoice? That means this is already linked to the client, and it's already linked to the my invoice portal as well. All I have to do is click print and send. And once I do that, let's just give it a minute to load. So once I do that, typically what happens is that in the my invoice LHDN portal is also transacting this submission of tax in their server. So as you can see here, there's a ribbon here called processing. So again, there's going to be a buffer between Odoo and my invoice server. So this is their server taking in data from us. So once done, you can click update my invoice status, and the processing ribbon will be a green ribbon, right? And if you want to see whether the transaction has gone through or not, actually, you can go into my invoice tab here, and you can see the my invoice state currently is validation in progress. Okay. All right. So I've updated the My Invoice status, and now you can see that the My Invoice state is actually valid with the submission UID of a certain number and My Invoice ID of a certain number. And I mentioned earlier that this is reflected in real time. Let's put that to the test to see if it's real or not. Okay, so as you can see here, we are already on the My Invoice portal. And let's see when it comes to the submission whether or not the transaction. Oop, there we go. Right now is 424. So earlier I submitted this at 423, and this transaction is already in Odoo. Okay, in LHDN. All right, so I've come to the end of my showcase for how e-invoicing is embedded in Odoo. Right now, I'll be inviting our very own product owner, Kim Do-hyun, to the stage to join us in the Q&A session. So hello, Do, how are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much. So thank you so much for letting me join. So my name is Do, for those who don't know, and I'm currently the product owner for the Odoo APAC office. And my job is basically to coordinate the localization tasks and efforts for all the countries in APAC. So if I were to start, this is my picture. And please feel free to leave any questions in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer all the questions immediately at the moment. And before the attendees, you leave the questions on YouTube, I'll be happy to answer some of the frequently asked questions before I start directly addressing the questions asked right now. So mostly, I always get asked for the new Malaysian e-invoicing module, is there any additional cost that we have to pay if we decide to go for Odoo? But the answer to that is simple. There's no any additional cost that will be applied. The only price is the subscription charge for Odoo, but on top of that, there's no any additional charge involved in using the e-invoicing module that is for the My Invoice. And do I only need Odoo database to use this particular feature? Indeed, in terms of within Odoo, yes, you only need Odoo database because we already have module inside. You just simply need to click and download, and you'll be able to have every setup that you need ready in order to integrate with My Invoice. But however, you just need to make sure that your TIN number is registered on My Tax portal of my Malaysian government, and also make sure to create an account for My Invoice and give Odoo as an access as an intermediary so that you are able to send the invoices. So once that is done, you will be able to actually use, and that's all you need in order to use this particular feature. And the next question I get is, does Odoo support both pre-production and production for My Invoice? And the answer to that is yes as well. So My Invoice, the government, LHDNN, they actually provide you with two different set of environment. One is production, which is the one actually you'll be using to submit the invoices that are generated in the daily transaction. Another one is pre-production, which is something that you'll be using before you actually send the actual invoices, but rather than something that you can connect initially to test. Even in the settings Odoo, you'll be able to choose whether you want to connect with Odoo pre-production, whether you want to actually connect with My Invoice pre-production environment or production environment, and make sure you just give us the access by going into the My Invoice portal as an intermediary. That is all that is needed. And then the next one is, can existing databases use the following feature too? Yes, indeed, this module has been released about just a month or 2 months ago, but however, even the existing databases starting from version 17.0 are able to use this. You just need to make sure to go into the apps app and then download a module called Malaysia E-Invoicing, and you'll be able to use this. So these were some of the frequently asked questions, and now I'll be happy to answer the questions that are left in the chat. So starting off with, so the first question that I received initially is, so it is regarding an error regarding the classification. So it seems that this user has been trying to send the e-invoice, and then the error received was validation regarding the classification. So first thing first, make sure that you have the classification set on the product that is included in the invoice. Even after that, if the error actually persists, it could be the problem actually caused by a particular view. So therefore, my recommendation will be to go to the apps app, and then there's a particular module called account_EDI_UBL_CII. Therefore, make sure to upgrade the module and try it again. If it still happens, please feel free to contact our support team and they will be happy to address the problem. Maybe it is something that is specific to the database, but then that's why we have the support team to be able to directly diagnose the issue and then handle it for you. And the next question is, Odoo does not have 0% text in Malaysian localization. How to configure the same? So actually, configuration is the same. You can go into the accounting app, and then when you go to the configuration menu at the top, you'll be able to see when you scroll down. When you hover your mouse down, you'll be able to see a menu called taxes. And inside of it, please click, and either you can select one of the existing tags to duplicate, or you can create new one. And then I'll give it a label 0%. And even the text percent is 0% as well. And then the next one is, can we have an approval process before sending a quote? This is possible using a feature embedded within a studio module. So this is a module that is covered in the custom plan of Odoo, and then this allows the users to be able to easily customize Odoo in terms of the user interface and some of the features without having to know coding. So therefore, there is something called approval rule that you'll be able to set. So make sure to try and learn. We have the videos available on Studio in YouTube. Please feel free to have a look. And if our help is needed, of course, you always have our one here, and he will be able to help assist you. Please do not hesitate to contact him, and he'll be able to let you know more information about how to subscribe to Odoo, what are the things that are required in order to support this. Next question is, do we need a separate module for E-Invoice? So as I mentioned, this is a separate module, but even the existing databases can use it. So what you need to do is, please go to Apps app, and then there should be a default filter applied called Apps. And once you remove that filter, you're able to access all the modules that are within Odoo that we support. And then you just need to type Malaysia. And then once you have a look at it, there should be a module appearing called Malaysia E-Invoicing. So once you download that, you're able to easily use that. You just need to go through the setup, and then you'll be able to use so. But it's not like, as I mentioned, it's not an extra cost module or extra installation that you have to do externally from Odoo, but it is something that is already supported and you can download from Apps app. And then is the My Invoice version 1.1 or 1.0? Odoo already supports 1.1 version for the XML file that is generated and that is submitted to the government, so to My Invoice platform. So make sure, so you can check that, not make sure. And then next one is E-Invoice module available for open source version. In my understanding, this is something I can try and confirm, but invoicing, yes, it should be available. But this one, I think I can double confirm, and maybe I'll be able to leave another answer in the chat. And can we view invoice listing and choose which one or by bulk submit to tax portal? So yes, you're right. So indeed, you're able to submit e-invoice each one by clicking send and print button. Or if you want to send multiple invoices at once, you can simply go into invoice menu, select all the ones you want to submit. And then you'll also be able to see a button, send and print at the top. That way, you can submit multiple at once. Last, there are a few more questions. How to comply digital certificates. So I'm not exactly understood with this question here, but there's no separate digital certificates. Are you referring to Odoo? Are you asking if Odoo is compliant to have a digital certificate? Or I'm not sure about the question, but Odoo is already compliant as to be able to send the e-invoice to the My Invoice portal. And then every time we send the e-invoice to the My Invoice portal, we receive the validation, and then the XML file that we receive back from the server, My Invoice server, already has a digital signature applied. So therefore, you can, that is the case. Does Odoo store our e-invoices? My Invoice stores only for 1 month, right? So Odoo on default is not going to be storing e-invoices unless you maybe take additional measure to download it or send it to your client using Odoo. So therefore, this is something that will also be updated, but soon we will also be able to, when you click send and print, basically, you will be able to send not just the PDF version, but also the .xml file of it, which is already including the digital stamp. So therefore, if you send it, that file is going to be stored in the log node and it will be stored. But Odoo as a proxy server or anything, we do not separately store the e-invoices. So therefore, it is something that will be contained in My Invoice. And I'm using version 16. Can we use e-invoice? We have no plan to upgrade to version 17. So as of now, no, we support version 17 and onwards. And if we feel the need, we will be able to backport and provide 16 version as well. But as of now, we are supporting from 17.0 to onwards versions. And then yes, we are continuously looking to improve the following modules so that we can cover more cases, such as including the POS cases and even the other self-billing cases that is needed. So make sure to wait and stay tuned to our emails and all the newsletters we'll be sending out, but we will be continuously evolving and improving the module and also continuously put the efforts for the Malaysian localization. So that is all for the questions that I've received today. And then please do not hesitate to reach out to Juan here for those who are interested in using Odoo and who have more questions about e-invoicing. Thank you so much. And I'll pass it back to Juan here. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, though, for the explanation on all the questions. So, again, some of it are frequently asked questions. That means that's the first thing people ask for. And some of them are a bit more specific as well, based on what we receive on the webinar comment section. So, thank you again, though. Appreciate it. Okay, so next I'll just cover, of course, another frequently asked question that's not really e-invoice related, but also Odoo related, which is what is the pricing, right? In Odoo, our pricing is based on three separate categories. So one is called the licensing, second one being the hosting, and the last one being the success pack. So what are these three? So licensing, as with any SaaS products out there, with any software, we are charging you a subscription licensing based on your contract. So it could be a yearly contract, multi-year contract, 3 years, 4 years, or even 5 years, right? And what does our subscription license offers? So all apps access, doesn't matter where you want to use 20 apps, you want to use 50 apps, you want to use all 60 apps in Odoo, that's possible with a license. And then it also includes support, free support, hosting, maintenance, storage, network, and cloud hosting as well. So all of that is already part of your subscription license. When it comes to hosting, this is very specific towards our hosting. You could either go on a cloud basis or on-premise as well, right? So we do provide both. And if you choose to go with cloud hosting, that means all you need is a laptop, internet connection. It could be run on your laptop, it could be run on your iPad, your tablets, or even your phone, right? On the go, anywhere at home, definitely possible. With the success pack, what we cover is that this is an additional service from us to you to configure or help set up the entire database for your business. So of course, with any software out there, it might be challenging to just pick up a software on the spot and use them for your business. Don't worry, we provide the service to help you out here. So it does include project management by our own Odoo expert directly from the headquarters in Hong Kong here with me. Also personal support, training and coaching. So after the configuration, we've set up the house, but how do you actually use it, right? We'll also provide that in our success pack, configuration, of course, data importing, and also customizations. All right, so some useful information here that I can share with you will be on the customer reviews. So feel free to engage with me on this aspect where we can dive in deeper about your business and how Odoo can really help you as well. To share with you some of the Odoo user documentation as well. Maybe some Odoo tour, right? Maybe you want to have a brief introduction to Odoo, what Odoo does, what Odoo can do, or maybe some use cases from previous years. Legality, privacy, and security aspect of it as well. All right, so that's the end of our session here. Feel free to get in touch with me. Again, your business advisor from Malaysia here. I've left down my email and also my business WhatsApp, so you can contact me directly either from email or on WhatsApp as well. So this is the end of our session for today. I hope to see you in our next one. So have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.